This meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative. That's our promise. And I'm your host, Mikkel Jenkins.
And I'm Muhammad Ali.
And we have a update on the Iran-U.S. war, as well as details as what's going on with the ceasefire negotiations. As we know, there has been a lot of lying and a lot of back and forth between the Trump administration and the IRGC. And then once we get through that, as we always do, we're going to touch on some domestic pieces, such as the legislative front with the Senate and some new information actually that's come about regarding the missing scientists. So there's a lot going on. And then we'll also touch on the Trump administration getting into the airline industry with saving Spirit Airlines. So thank you for all joining us here today, and we'll get right into it. So, as we all know, the fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran remains in place, but it is under serious strain. President Trump has announced an indefinite extension of the ceasefire late yesterday, and he said the move came at the request of Pakistan and would give Iran time to present a unified proposal during planned talks. However, the situation in the Strait of Hormuz escalated quickly, where Iranian forces led by the IRGC seized and attacked several tankers and cargo ships attempting to move through the strait. Reports confirmed that the IRGC fired on vessels and forced reroutes. The U.S. also seized at least one Iranian flagged tanker, and no LNG tankers have successfully transitioned the strait as this conflict continues on. And with the whole splintering of this, the leadership within Iran is a lot to deal with. Why kind of Trump had this ceasefire extended. So it was supposed to end yesterday on Tuesday. It's now been presumably extended until Sunday. And that extension was given that because the leadership within Iran is so fractured that you have the IRGC and the individuals in the government are so at odds at each other on what really to do. And, Iran, they continue to insist that it will not send a delegation to negotiations until the United States lifts its naval blockade of Iranian ports. Iranian officials have accused the U.S. of bad faith and shifting demands. Meanwhile, the U.S. says the blockade will stay in effect until a solid agreement is reached. Now, when you take in that what I've just said, it basically spells out that no deal is going to be reached. Is that what you're getting from this, Muhammad?
I mean, I think that based off how we've seen the past negotiations go, and based off what we're being seen, insisted and asked upon on this one, how negotiations have gone, which has basically been deep down to the water. Yeah, I'd say it's not going to work out. The
Yeah,
On multiple levels, the Iranians have already stated that they're not really too interested anymore in peace talks based off
yeah.
how
Why would
these
they?
peace talks have been. I mean, why would any country at this point, when it involves the United States and Israel, go into a peace talk with them when they know what's going to come of it, which is generally the Israelis or the United States? Well, honestly, track worker wise, the Israelis will break the ceasefire and attack anyway. Like that's the issue
Yeah,
that was happening with Lebanon. They're like, oh, we didn't know we were involved. I know that was a very clear cut part that even Pakistan, who was the mediator of the peace talks, came out and said, yes, they're the guys that, and this isn't. I mean, I'm sorry, this has been involved in the peace talk that Lebanon was supposed to be a part of the ceasefire as well with Israel, and it just wasn't followed. So it's like at this point, you've tried it, it's gone nowhere. The deal you did agree on was broken apart early
yeah.
stages. What do you do from there? Where do you go from there? The only thing you can really do is like minimize talking.
Yeah, pretty much. And every time they've come to the table, the United States has always come with some egregious demands. Like we've stated them, the sticking point before was 0% enrichment. And we've talked about how nuclear enrichment is it can be used for other capabilities outside of just pursuing a nuclear weapon. And with the Obama deal that capped it at that, I think it was what 3.67%, that allowed them to have those capabilities because there are various ways that it can be used. And we've stated on this podcast that such as New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill has taken some initiatives to actually expand nuclear capabilities within the state of New Jersey. A solid blue governor looking for nuclear as a better option as we're seeing these high rising in gas prices. So it is a viable option on many reasons. So it's understandable why Iran feels like that sticking point, and on top of the blockade that they can't really trust the United States on these levels of negotiations, especially when you have Israel being the big huge monkey in the back or the elephant in the room on all of this because they don't want this to go forward anymore. And there are clear signs of divisions, which I was talking about, inside Iran's leadership. You have pragmatic civilian leaderships, which include the president and foreign minister, who have signaled openness to talks if the blockade ends. And then you have hardline elements within the IRGC, which appear to be pushing back and reclosing parts of the strait shortly after civilian officials suggested it was open. So President Trump publicly described Iran's government as seriously fractured, with many, which may explain part of the ceasefire extension. And he was saying we don't know who's running Iran. It's kind of like when you look at the United States, it's like who's running the United States? Like we know Donald Trump is the one calling these shots and all of these things, but we know well, not say that we know from his actions and policies that he's put forth, we can put together that there seems to be someone really behind the scenes pushing this agenda because this is such a stray from what his original campaign was pushing for. And until we know who that individual is or individuals, organizations, it's kind of
I
like,
mean, there's this
what have the
there's this
voters
one
gotten out of
quote.
this?
There's this, Eric Adams. Say whatever you want about the guy, funny and
Oh
all,
yeah, I know which quote you're gonna
but
say. Yeah.
big name politician. But he did say, well, let's see if you do know. He said that even presidents change, but there's some people who never leave a position of power. And they're the ones you really want to keep an eye out for. Really, like, there's people who just always have power in their hand no matter what. And it's a very good point because it brings up the question, like, we see some of these people who have been in Congress for decades. We see some of these people from foreign governments who have a lot of sway and pull from the government. I mean, I think Netanyahu is a good example of this. I mean, even in his home country of Israel, he's been pushing off corruption charges for about 2 years now, 2+ years now, based off of using war as an emergency declaration in the country, which prevents him, which allows him to push off those dates. Or by actually the other day, this is hilarious to me. This is a few months ago. He was supposed to go in. The Gaza situation was dying down. The ceasefire was signed, and then he has to go in for the corruption trial. He calls in sick with bronchitis, gets a doctor's note, and it's just he always finds a reason to.
Yeah, now it's being pushed even more, I think, because of security concerns, given that the war is still going
It's
on.
absurd.
Yeah, so
But
you
point
see his
being is
personal
that there
gain
are
with
some
all of
people
this.
who just always stay in power, and this guy's been in it for like what 25, 30 years. And
Yeah, and
even
the people
beyond then,
don't want
we've
him
seen
anymore.
how lobbyists, how we've seen how money in the government and politics have swayed people, and it's like who's giving this money consistently? Who's on the lobbying side of this consistently? Who is on the political domestic side and political foreign side of this consistently? And it's just a lot of
Yep.
these, not it's not just specific to the foreign affairs, for example. With when we talk about Israel, it also goes down to things like industry, what people do with regulations and more. The highest paid lobby in America is like Medicare. I
Yeah,
mean, not Medicare,
pharmaceutical.
but like,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals is the
Yeah,
highest paid
100%. 100%,
lobbyist
dude.
industry. So there's a lot of money that goes around in a lot of different ways, and some of these people just stay around for a very long time. So like the power, depending on how you use it, can be shown in either money if you know how to use it, or just in general long-standing political power for this situation. And when it comes to who's kind of swaying Trump, I really think it's those kinds of people. I mean, it's like Miriam Edelson has been giving tens of millions to hundreds of millions to Trump and his and
Yeah,
Republican
yeah, I saw that
uh,
reporting.
candidates for various races that benefit her. So imagine being an opponent and saying like, "Oh well, I can if I do this, I'm going against someone who's got millions on their back, like basically an unlimited war chest."
Yeah, basically.
And
I mean, it's
that's like
yeah.
that's the issue. That's like where like that unlimited power that like long-standing power comes from because like you can lose your position because we have the money to back ourselves up. We're going to get everyone on our side because we have the money and the political influence because of the money, or we're already in Congress in multiple ways. And then from there, we're going to influence what we want to
Mhm.
achieve what our goals are.
Yeah, and
And
yeah.
it just so happens with some of the biggest lobbyists in America at the moment are lobbying specifically for Israel, like Mary Madison.
Yeah, pretty much, and I mean, you have individuals like, Wickoff, Kushner, Stephen Miller, all these individuals that have had such, vocal voices in how policy initiatives have been laid out. You truly start to question what level of thought Trump really has in these policies and things of these natures, because it's, as I was saying, stating so far from his original promises and campaign, and basically the complete opposite of his first campaign when he won, basically winning the hearts and minds of blue collar workers. And then continuing on, just the update with the war on the military side, Iran still holds a significant portion of its missile stockpile, which they were during this whole ceasefire still restocking and resupplying. And they have roughly 70%, according to U.S. officials' recent assessment. And that gives Tehran considerable remaining strength despite earlier attacks and strikes, and the claims that Hegseth and Trump continue to state that we have taken out their navy, their air force, and any of their missile infrastructures. It's all just completely false. And I actually love when someone had stated that um, it had to do with Hegseth. Funny enough, he was quoting Pulp Fiction when he thought that it was an actual
I
Bible
heard
verse,
I saw this. This is
and
funny.
it was a back and forth with one of the pastor of Hegseth that talked to him and all this stuff, and he was like, "You have this cosplayer, basically, which he basically is. He's basically a cosplayer as Secretary of War, thinking it's some fraternity promotion." And you see this level of rhetoric that he's speaking from, and soon enough, it's going to get him criminally charged because individuals have looked at what he's been stating and that those are war criminal words as they have been spoken. And it's
I
just,
mean,
yeah.
I think
Mhm.
he's like an example, like, someone who like thinks he's the hype, but really
Yeah,
isn't the hype. It
he's
can't live
not
up to the hype.
he's
Yeah,
not the
he
hype
can't
at
live
all.
up to the hype.
Not at all. He
And
wishes he
so
has his own theme music, I bet, every time he talks or has one of those weird one-liners or weird military one-liners or
I was
things
gonna
like
say
that.
it's
It's
funny you
like,
mentioned one-liners because I was thinking off the top of my head. I know he would want to go up on stage, say like a hey crazy like 1-2 liner,
yeah,
and
I
then like
mean,
walk off and like it'd be the next thing in like the news, like, oh my god, listen to this. This is why you don't mess with the U.S. military.
literally,
And
like literally.
it's funny to me how much the current administration is so focused on the media. I mean, you got Cash Patel suing The Atlantic
Oh,
currently,
yeah,
I
the
believe was
Atlantic
The
for
Atlantic.
his,
Yeah.
drinking that he be out.
Yeah,
Apparently,
so yeah,
they
they're suing him.
get him
He's
up.
suing them based off of that, saying he's not an
Yeah.
alcoholic and he doesn't drink that heavily.
I think he said, like,
Which,
"Come at me, bro," or or something like that on
bro,
during a
man,
press
like, come on,
conference.
like, there's a professional way to behave. Like, there's a casual thing way to behave in a professional way when you're in front of cameras
Yeah,
and
and
around
they're sticking
coworkers,
to
like
their
you're
story.
the FBI director. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
the Atlantic, they are sticking to their story, and there were even reports that, even when it was, like, very sensitive situations, that they had to even use, breaching equipment to get to him while he was inebriated sleeping. I'm
That's
like, "Bro,
crazy.
like, what are we doing?" Like, you
How are
have
you that? I don't
him.
think I've ever been that drunk asleep, but I also don't think I've ever had someone need me that direly after
Well, I
I
mean,
passed
you're
out
the
drunk.
FBI director. You should be
Yeah, you gotta be on
that
top of the
level
on top.
of
You gotta be taking
urgency
care
is
of yourself.
needed.
I agree.
Oh,
Like, what, you're
100%.
supposed to be taking care of any and all special criminal attacks against the United States, and you're over here
Yeah.
getting drunk
I mean,
on
they're
the
all gonna be the
daily,
next
on the
3
weekly.
to fall. You know, you're gonna have, it was announced that, apparently there's rumors, Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, DNI director, that Trump has stated that they want her out, I think
By midterm.
by the
Yeah, so
midterms. You have all this nonsense with Hegseth misquoting the Bible and trying to use the Bible and religion as a way to give validation for this war. And you know, you're gonna have all these other individuals just start dropping left and right from this administration because, you know, as he said, Trump, he said he brings in the best and the brightest, and sure enough, we're seeing the best and the brightest fall one by one. And just lastly, on updates on the Iran war, adding to all of these tensions with Iran still having their 70% missile capabilities, and also placing mines in the strait earlier within the conflict, and now expanding on that, which the US states would take about 6 months to move out from the strait. Basically, 6 months to move all of the mines that are within that strait. IRGC linked media published a detailed map of undersea internet cables in the Persian Gulf. The report highlighted how undersea internet cables in the Persian Gulf, if they were damaged, whether it be accidental or deliberate, these cables and nearby cloud infrastructure could cause severe outages across the Gulf states and beyond. These cables carry the vast majority of internet, financial, and data traffic for the region. Experts say that this is a clear warning and a potential hybrid warfare threat if the conflict worsens. In short, the ceasefire is holding for now, but both sides are posturing heavily. Negotiations remain stalled over the blockade, and the risk of renewed fighting is very, very, very much real. And I believe we might have lost Muhammad. I think he's
no,
going to
I'm
come back.
still
Oh,
here.
he's still
My
here.
cat just
Uh,
barely
his
nudged my
cat,
camera, and that
his cat
knocked it
took off
out.
his camera.
Crazy. Yeah, I was
But
trying to
yes,
keep her away from it. Next thing I know, it just smacks it a little, gone.
just
All right,
knocks it
here,
off.
let me fix
But
this.
definitely, we hope that that was a very good and informative update on really what's been happening since we last talked on Monday. We're now going to move to the domestic side of things, and starting off first with a round of applause for the Democrats within Virginia. And last year, we all know President Trump encouraged Texas Republicans and many other Republicans in many different states to redraw their congressional maps mid-district in hopes of gaining up to 5 additional Republican seats off the 2026 midterms. Remember, he says we're what did he say? We're due 5 seats, or we're something. He said something of that nature. We're owed 5 seats or something like that. But this aggressive move triggered a national redistricting battle. It appears to have partially backfired, with new analysts suggesting Texas Republicans may only net around 2 seats instead of 5 due to part of shifting voter patterns and strong Democratic challengers. In response, Virginia voters went to the polls, which is the correct way to do it. You do it by referendum, just as the same way that California did as well with Prop 50. So they narrowly approved the constitutional amendment, which was, I think, 3.5 margin of error, I believe, between yes and no. So it was close overall, I will say. So that does show the little bit of divide there within Virginia, but also the voters had a say. That would be the same thing if it's like same thing with Spanberg. You had two individuals, two separate parties. Yes, a lot of individuals voted Republican, but majority of them voted Democratic, and that's just how it ended up going. And that's the same thing with this situation. So this new map could help Democrats pick up as many as 4 House seats, and Democrats are framing this as necessary response to the Republican. I'll use Hakeem Jeffries' word, dummy mandering, that they were continuously continuously pursuing, and of course, Republicans call it hypocritical power. And the result is an escalating tit for tat arms race over maps heading into 2026 elections. Both sides risk really eroding public trust and redistricting and in the whole process in general. And currently, before we hopped on, a Virginia judge has ruled that the redistricting referendum is unconstitutional, which will block the certification of election results since this will affect the midterms. However, another judge has already filed an appeal to the unconstitutional ruling. So you will see a lot of back and forth on these legal rulings regarding this constitutional referendum. But this is the way that it should have always been done. It should have never been done on the legislature side or things of that nature that all of these Republican states tried to push. It should have been done by the people. And when you do it by that way, you see that you get the results that you want. California was able to pass their Prop 50, and the same thing with Virginia. And I'm sure other states, maybe New Jersey and Maryland hop in that race as well. I do know that both of our governors and secretary of states were called on to do those things. But, it's really going to be bad for the Republicans who started this fight and are now having their back up against the wall, already facing a dwindling House majority and approval ratings across the board.
You good?
And yeah, I just had to just redo my headset there. And then wanting to move
I was like,
to,
if you need to take a breath, you can take a breath. I can, take a little bit of a swing or two at speaking.
and then on the legislative news, looking at FISA and the god awful reconciliation bill. Did you see the more information that came out about that bill, Muhammad?
I have not actually.
That's the CPB and ICE funding reconciliation bill they're going to try to get passed, which they will be able to get passed because it's only through just a simple threshold, but we will dive into that. So on the Hill, Congress took quick action to avoid a surveillance cliff. So this is the FISA that we've been talking about. The House and Senate passed a short-term extension of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, pushing the expiration date to April 30th. This program allows warrantless collection of foreign intelligence from non-U.S. persons abroad. Longer-term reforms and extensions have faced resistance, which is rightly so, and particularly from some Republicans concerned about privacy protections for Americans. Negotiations continue on. And as I will always continue to state, Donald Trump stated himself that he prizes surveillance over individual rights. And then now for a more detail on what's going on with the reconciliation effort. Senate Republicans led by Budget Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, the famed war hawk himself from South Carolina, introduced a targeted fiscal year 2026 budget resolution on February 21st. This resolution serves as the blueprint for a skinny or narrow focus reconciliation bill. The main goal is to provide substantial new funding for border security and immigration enforcement. Specifically, the resolution instructs the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee to draft legislation that would deliver roughly $70 billion. Some estimates put the final package at about $70 billion and $80 billion for U.S. immigration and customs enforcement, and for U.S. CBP and for Border Patrol operations. This funding is fully designed to support these agencies for the next 3.5 years, literally just carrying through President Trump's remainder of his presidency.
Makes sense. It's
Republicans,
usually
right?
how they want to do it. Literally, just if you kick the can down the road, do it a few
Exactly.
years at a time.
And then though whoever is, as it's all going on, they can use that as a political talking point as when it comes to debates and all that good stuff. But yeah, they're just letting it go until 2029. Republicans say that this is necessary to secure the border at a time of ongoing threats and to help resolve the partial shutdown affecting parts of the Department of Homeland Security that has lasted for more than 9 weeks. And mind you, on all of that, The Senate passed a very clean bill on DHS funding, and the House did not pick that up. They just let it go and went home for recess. So mind you on that. Mind you on that. And because that this is a reconciliation bill, it can pass the Senate with a simple majority of 51 votes instead of the usual 60 votes needed to overcome a filibuster. That means Democrats cannot block it, and the process bypasses normal debate rules and allows the bill to move quickly once the committee finishes their work. Senate leaders hope to have the full reconciliation completed and on the president's desk by early June. And gosh, I wonder what the the Kalshi or poly market odds for that, honestly, because I'm currently riding on the Lakers to win the
Really?
NBA championship. Yeah, dude. I'm like, why
On
not?
the championship,
Yeah,
that's
to
a
win the
big one.
championship. So my thinking is right because I think it's like 50x your money. So as they keep playing and as they keep winning, I'm just gonna keep adding to my position. And then once they like, let's just say they at least win the conference, and then it gets to a good amount, I'll just cash out.
Yeah.
Perfect thing for it. But I do wonder if there is ways to bet about whether or not this reconciliation bill will get to the president's desk. But after the resolution debate ends, the Senate will move into what is known as a vote-a-rama. This is a marathon session where senators can offer a unlimited number of amendments. Each amendment gets a short explanation followed by a quick roll call vote, often limited to about 10 minutes per vote. These sessions can last many hours, which I believe it's almost like I think for the rule it's like 50 hours of debate or something of that nature, but I think they're talking about giving away some of their time on both sides of the aisle, so they're not there for that full 50 hours. But the Votorama forces lawmakers to basically go on the record on a wide range of issues, which include politically sensitive topics or poison pill proposals designed to create difficult votes for the other side. I know during this time, during this Votorama, which I believe may happen tonight or may happen tomorrow, that Republicans are going to be focusing on affordability with a lot of their amendments. So
I
do
mean,
look
they're really
out for
trying to
that.
drive that home because that's what they're losing on. The
That's
economy's getting so
yeah,
expensive, gas is getting more expensive, things are getting cheaper and easier.
100%.
And they just saw, there was Democrats are winning
It's a
very
it's a hoax, dude.
strongly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not looking in their favor. They've got to argue with the thing that they have to argue, and that is affordability. But it's like, how are you guys going to actually help with that? Nothing you've done
Right.
has helped with that. Tariffs? Absolutely not.
And we're not
The
even
big, beautiful bill? Absolutely not.
I can't stand the whole tariff thing, the big beautiful bill thing, and it's just oh my gosh, what we have gone downward in many ways. And there's not many policies that I can actually say from this administration have actually been beneficial. Like, yes, you have the baby bonds and all those small things, but okay, I can't say small things. All those important things, but they're not the grander picture of it all when it comes to fully affordability and things of that nature. He says we can't do healthcare, we can't do this because we're over here fighting a war that was started because of a stellar PowerPoint presentation. Keep saying that because that's the truth. And we have all of these missteps that are now happening within our government to where DHS can't even get fully funded. The individuals that work at TSA and all these other key agencies can't even get funded because the Senate is the only formal working body currently in Congress. The House is such in disarray that they can't even pass what their own party is passing to them. And it just shows that Democrats are really going to hit hard on this level of dysfunction that we're seeing, and on affordability because President Trump has shot himself in the foot as well as the Republican Party in the foot for going forth with all of these measures such as tariffs, big beautiful bill, and now looking at his budget bill, which is the it's the 1.3 trillion to border patrol and all of that, while adding more extensive cuts to healthcare, Medicare, and all of these other healthcare programs and social service programs. It's just it's god awful, but Republicans have emphasized that this reconciliation package will stay narrow and focused on immigration enforcement funding. It does not currently include instructions for major tax changes or unrelated priorities, though some GOP leaders have pushed to broaden it a second or third. That you're going to try this 2 to 3 more times. Reconciliation bill will later be drafted in this year and could address other issues such as defense or anti-fraud measures. And Democrats have criticized the move as an abuse of the reconciliation process and argues it lacks necessary oversight or reforms for the agencies involved. And I could truly see if, let's just say, Democrats don't take an overwhelming win in the Senate at least, or they're able to win just a majority within the Senate, the 51. I could easily see them going down the reconciliation route because the Republicans are giving them the precedent to be able to use this framework to get a lot of their to get a lot of certain priorities done in a very quick manner.
I mean, yeah, they're definitely gonna take advantage of whatever they have to offer. I mean, it's been a very painful few, only been a year and a quarter, really, of this
Don't
Trump
seem like it.
presidency. Doesn't seem like it at all. So the Democrats are absolutely going to take advantage of whatever they can. Hopefully, I shall say. I think the new age of the Democrat Party is coming about very shortly with the
Yeah.
rejuvenated ideas, and especially the stark divide from the past class of Democrats to the current, and how the current is more people agree with progressive ideology within the Democrat Party nowadays than traditional Democratic policy. So I think we're just going to continue to see that be a big push in the resulting elections and also what we see the Democrat Party do. And it'll be interesting to see how aggressive they play once the midterms come, depending
Yeah,
on
it
how the
will.
midterms go. I mean, I really am expecting them to have like a dozen or so more seats, a dozen, 2 dozen more seats than the Republicans at the end of the day.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see us up with maybe like 10. Yeah, I could see 10, 15 seats, especially with this is just this as what happened with Virginia, what's going on, what happened in California with all those gains. I mean, I can easily see it going. I mean, I think with the Virginia map, Republicans only have 1 seat. I think they only have 1 seat if I'm not
I saw it'll
mistaken.
be interesting to see how that plays out.
No, definitely will be. And now we're going to move to the United States government getting into the airline industry because there are a number of industries that they have gotten into within this last year. Muhammad, I think it was what the minerals industry,
Rare earth
technology, yeah, rare
and
earth, and wasn't it with
chips with
yeah,
Intel.
rare earth and chips. So now this is their third industry that they have now bought into. Someone would say that that is what communism is the correct theology for this. You would not theology, political ideology for that. You would say, Muhammad,
I
if I'm not
mean,
mistaken. I mean, come on.
really just going straight for it. I mean, when we're talking about a company owning a bit of a, I mean, the U.S. owning a bit of a company, yeah, it definitely counts. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
depends on how far they go with it, whether or not they start owning the whole company or they stop somewhere.
Yeah, right. And so struggling discount carrier Spirit Airlines is in serious financial trouble. I mean, I'm sure people listening to this podcast have actually flown Spirit before, maybe, maybe not. I know every time I get on Spirit, I always hope I don't become a Spirit. But reports indicate the
Saving that
company.
one up, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I always say it every time I get on. I mean, like me and my girlfriend go. I mean, now we don't fly Spirit anymore, but when we've been
I'm a
on
loyal
Spirit,
American customer.
we went on Spirit. I always play like let's hope we don't become a Spirit. Funny and not funny, but still just adding a little bit of humor to it all. But reports indicate the company has discussed offering the federal government an equity stake in exchange for financial help. President Trump commented publicly that he would like to see someone buy Spirit to protect its 14,000 jobs. He added that maybe the federal government should step in to help this particular airline. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has been meeting with airline executives, and this would mark another example of targeted government intervention in a major industry. And who knows if a private individual will go in with the U.S. government for the buying or for the lifting up of Spirit Airlines. But if it is the government that does it, just know it's going to be with taxpayer money 9 times out of 10.
It's
So we will
always
be
that
the
with
ones.
taxpayer money. It's not even a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, so we will be the ones to basically have stake in Spirit Airlines. So funny enough. But
It'll be interesting to
lastly,
see what
hmm?
happens with that. I mean, how much they take, how much they
Yeah,
wanna
it's
take.
yeah. I wonder what the stake is, what the breakdown will be, and all of that financial information and so forth. And lastly, that we have here on the show is I think we ended with this early with this on the last episode as well, with the nuclear scientist death and new information about circulating text messages actually. So finally, the FBI is reviewing a cluster of at least 10 or 11 cases involving, excuse me, U.S. scientists and researchers tied to sensitive government or defense related work. These include deaths, disappearances, and suspicious incidents dating back several years. The case involves fields such as nuclear research, space programs, and advanced propulsion for anti gravity studies. One case drawing renewed attention is that of Amy Eskridge, a 34-year-old researcher in Huntsville, Alabama, who worked on exotic science and anti-gravity technology. Like, just imagine saying that to somebody. I work on exotic science and anti-gravity technology. Like, that's
Exotic science is
like,
a hell of a tagline. A
but
hell of a
that's
tagline.
like, how do you even wrap your mind around that, or even explain that to somebody? But unfortunately, she died in June 2022 from self-inflicted gunshot wound, officially ruled a homicide. Sorry, suicide. Her father, a former NASA employee, has said he does not believe anything suspicious occurred. However, text messages from Eskridge sent shortly before her death to her business partner and a friend have resurfaced. In those messages, she expressed fears of surveillance, harassment, break ins, and threats from foreign agents. She explicitly warned that if anyone reported her death as a suicide, it was not true. It's kind of haunting how, like, she stated that, and that is
Ahead
exactly,
of time. Yeah.
yeah, like chilling. But these texts, combined with the broader pattern of cases, have fueled public speculation and promoted the White House to direct a holistic review by the FBI and other agencies. Officials emphasize that no confirmed links have been established yet, so it's not. It's don't people shouldn't run too far with it, but it is something to keep an eye and ear on. But the national security implications are significant in any connection, if any connections exist. And that wraps up today's updates. Mohammed, do you have anything?
I mean, it's been nice. I guess I suppose it's been interesting to see how slow in comparison the Iranian situation has been, the Iranian war has been compared to the prior few weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks,
I'm
man.
kind of just waiting on everything to escalate and for oil prices to go skyrocketing back up, but we'll see about that. And I mean, we're just every single day is closer to midterms. I mean, we'll start seeing the debates for the primaries in other states soon. The Democratic primary in Pennsylvania is in May, I believe. So that's coming up fairly shortly.
Oh yeah, the what is it for District 3?
District 10 is one of the
District
districts.
10.
That's the one that I'm from.
Yeah,
That's
the
the
one
one that
in
I was following.
District 3, that's with a few individuals that I've actually worked with The one guy we were going to, I think is it in District 3 is no, you're not. Yeah, no, PA. But
Are you thinking of wrestling districts or political
no,
districts?
political districts, because you had said District 10, but you
Okay.
said PA District 10. The other race is District 3, and that's Representative Rab, Ala Stanford, who is actually I was going to talk about real quick. It came out that apparently she has very deep ties to APAC, and she said something that I was like, "Are you serious?" I worked with her in my capacity as the legislative director for State Rep Stephen Kinsey, and she was stating that s- basically saying that basically saying the word genocide just anywhere around Jewish people is the same effect as saying the N word to black people. I said, "Are you serious?" I was like, I'm
Wild
like,
thing to say.
a wild thing to say." And then after that, after she said that, people started doing digging and digging and digging, and voila la. It came about that she was receiving multiple donations from APAC related and linked organizations. So who would have thought? And I think Representative Rab will be the individual to win that race. Not really a fan of him myself, just from when I worked at the state rep Steve McKenzie's office. He always backstabbed my boss when it came to leadership positions. So that would have also
Really.
elevated me. So yeah, multiple times he would only do things for his own good. But that's politics at the end of the day.
Politics.
That's
Yeah.
politics at the end of the day. And
What are you gonna do about it? Can't do much about it.
no,
That's the
no, you
game.
can't. You just gotta,
Dirty
shield
game, but
yourself
that's the
from it.
game.
And I tell people you gotta shield yourself from it because I tell this to everyone. They say politics is corrupt. I always say
It
it's
is.
only usually at the federal level where you see it overtly, covertly. It is at all the other levels, but there are good individuals within all of that corruption. That's the same thing on the business side of things. You can say businesses are all corrupt and cheating and robbing, stealing people blind out of their pockets, but that's not every single business. And that shouldn't be the same frame for politics. Like the individual that I worked for, probably one of the most upstanding members of the House, members of the State House of Pennsylvania that I could come across. He started the bipartisan caucus himself with the senator. I'm sorry, with the Republican over in the House who was a part owner of a baseball team. So you had two separate worlds able to come together and able to build bridges. So that level of corruption, it unfortunately is so overtly out there, and it is covertly out there. I can't say that it's not, but there are good individuals out there that have the heart and the will to, vote against their interests and just for the people's interests. And there are also a lot of people out there who do the exact opposite. And I think that it's an unfortunate world that we live in, but it's also life, it's reality, and it's about navigating it, having a moral compass, and staying true to your values. And to that end, to our listeners, thank you for joining us today on Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay involved. I'm Mikhail Jenkins, and until next time, keep looking beyond the headline and behind the ballot, and be sure not to skip a beat by subscribing to our YouTube page for exclusive shorts, new episodes, and all information on the latest as this war continues and as these political developments keep going on. So thank you all for joining us here today.
And yeah, I just got carried away a little bit there, actually thinking about how things are changing kind of quickly and how they'll be changing even quicker in the next few months. But
Mhm.
thank you all for listening. It's been nice. And Mikhail, it's been nice doing this episode with you. God bless America. God bless you all. And all of you. Have a